I've hardly ever worked on a use case that wasn't worth at least $1 million. Yeah, I see tremendous business impact already. I mean, I've hardly ever worked on a use case that wasn't worth at least $1 million in a singular manufacturing line or even a single machine for a year if you can improve the KPI by a single percentage point, single digit percentage. That KPI is often something like throughput, how much you can make in an hour, efficiency, reducing resource usage or waste management, reducing waste. So there's huge economic impact. And I think when you scale it, I talked to a company the other day and they brought me a use case. I said, that's a great use case for intelligent autonomous agents. And you can totally do that with Composable. And I was starting to teach them how to do that. And I said, you must have like 100 use cases like this. And they said, no, we have 1,000. And that's one company, or that's one holding company with a set of manufacturing companies. So I think there's huge economic impact. It's a different paradigm though, So technology companies tend to say to large industrial companies, we're building this AI, we're the experts, and then you can rent it or access it to do something interesting. And our approach is entirely the opposite. We're providing you the tools and the methodology to build an infinite number of AI models and agents that will revolutionize your processes with your people under your control using our platform. The toughest part about solving real problems is that when you're solving real high-value problems, there's hardly anything that you can really talk about because they're proprietary. It's like you're talking about somebody's, KFC special recipe or their secret sauce. But I'll say this: one example that I've talked about in the past is helping the folks at PepsiCo R&D Snack Foods build an expert AI operator for making Cheetos. Making Cheetos is actually pretty hard to do. It's made on this piece of equipment called an extruder. There's about 25 things that you control every few minutes. Takes 10 to 12 years to get really, really good at it. And there's a lot of things that change and you have to adapt to it. And we tried some traditional AI techniques, but really we cracked the problem when I interviewed the operator and they told me there's these 5 very distinct skills that you have to learn and use in very specific ways. It's very analogous to if you talk to a pilot and they said you have to learn to take off and you have to learn to land. And you're not going to learn takeoff by landing, and you're not going to learn to land by taking off a plane. And there's things like that in these factory settings, including operating this extruder. And there was actually 5 different skills, if I remember correctly, and they were arranged in a very specific way. And it wasn't until I taught those specific skills and allowed these advanced AI technologies to learn the things that I was specifically teaching, which what teaching really is saying, hey, there's a lot of ways to do this, but I don't want you doing any old thing. I want you practicing only this way. I want you practicing inside this box, doing this. It's like when you teach someone a jump shot. You're not saying you have to do it exactly as I say. You're saying there's a lot of different ways you can just launch a ball towards the basket, but there's a very specific way that if you practice it, and there's lots of different ways to do the jump shot, but if you practice within this box, you're much more likely to succeed. And that's what we did with that agent, and we were able to develop something in less than a year, and really, as far as AI training, train in a few weeks what would take a human 12 years to learn how to do at that level. Now, what Composable is able to do that other platforms couldn't in the past is very flexibly mix together multiple technologies. So most technology companies, especially technology companies that have to do with agents, specialize in one and only one kind of technology. So one agent company will say, all of our agents are based on large language models. Well, large language models are great at language, but they're not great at other aspects of decision making. In the same way that a hammer is great at driving nails, but it's not so great at turning screws. Another company will say, well, I use optimization algorithms. And optimization algorithms are great when there's lots and lots of options, but there's certain things that they're not great at. Composable takes a very different tactic. And the reason why we call our company Composable is it allows you to combine pretty much any technology. So I don't participate in these conversations that are like, well, my technology is better than your technology. I like all those technologies in the same way as I like hammers, nails, and screwdrivers. They're just different tools that are good at different things. And so Composable is more of a connecting platform that allows you to take the technologies you use, take the technologies that are really effective for a particular problem and combine them together in specific ways that frankly outperform any specific technology.